Hi, this is John with Sweet Memories Cooking, and today I'm going to make cauliflower soup. It's delicious. It uses just a few fresh ingredients, and like I say, it tastes great. So basically you need a head of cauliflower, half an onion. I'm going to use a half a cup of carrots, some chicken broth, some caraway seeds, a little milk, and it's great. So let's get started. So the first thing I do is you want to obviously cut away all of the leaves and cut the core out of the cauliflower, and then cut it into florets. So if I can do this right, I'm just going to cut the core out, and as you can see, what's happening is the little florets are starting to break apart on their own. So you want to just break those up. What we're going to do is put these in about a tablespoon of olive oil in a large stock pot, and then saute them with the onions and the carrots until everything is soft. Then we add our chicken broth, some spices, and in the end we get to use my favorite tool, the immersion blender. And it comes out just great. Your family is going to absolutely love this. So then we dice up an onion, and again, since we're going to saute this and then it eventually gets, the immersion blender kind of takes over, you can do a little bit of a rough chop, but I try to get smaller pieces because it cooks quicker in the pot. So let's go ahead and do that, and I just leave all the vegetables on the board, and then we're going to go over and we're going to dump them right in the pot. So as soon as I'm done with this, I'll meet you over at the stove, and we'll go to the next step. So see, I've got these little baby carrots. All I'm going to do with these is just really chop them up. I don't want them real big. I want them to cook nice. Dinner is going to be great today. So I'm going to have this with the salad, and that's a very healthy and obviously cost-conscious meal. Got a lot of flavor. So here we go. As you can see, I'm just really rough chopping everything. I'm going to take this over to the stove, and I'll meet you there in a minute, and I'll show you what we do next. Okay, we're ready to saute our vegetables. I'm going to turn this on to about a medium heat and add a tablespoon of olive oil in the bottom. Ooh, that's about all I got left, so I didn't need more. We'll let that heat up a little bit. And then I'm going to add all the vegetables we cut up. What we're going to do is just let these saute for a little while. I'm going to throw some salt and pepper in here. And when they get soft, then we're going to add the chicken broth along with the caraway seeds. And we're going to let that simmer until everything just blends together, and you can basically break up that cauliflower by just touching it with a spoon or a fork. So to this, you can see it's just sitting in there. I'm just coating it. I'm going to let this saute, a little bit of salt in. It's about that much. I know I'm going to add more later. Same amount of pepper. And we'll let that go. I'll show you what it looks like in a minute when it's all cooked up, and then we'll move to the next step. Okay, so this has been sauteing probably 3 or 4 minutes. And you can see that the onions are starting to get transparent, and of course the cauliflower is still hard, but it's kind of coming together nice. So at this point, I take about 3 cups of chicken broth, and I just pour it right in there. And what we're going to do is let this come to a boil, and we're just going to let it simmer until you can just break up that cauliflower with a fork, and it's real smooth. Okay, that was a little bit more than half a box. The other thing at this point I'm going to add is a teaspoon of caraway seeds. And there's something about the caraway seeds that just makes this taste great. So I'm going to go ahead. As you can see, it's really pretty straightforward. It's a very simple recipe, but you are not going to believe the results that you get. All right, I'm going to cover this. Maybe I'll add just a little bit more chicken broth. I'm going to cover this, and like they say, let it come to a boil, then reduce it to a simmer, and just let it go for a little while. And we'll come back and I'll show you what we do next. We're going to add some milk and blend it, and it'll taste great. Okay, so the soup has been cooking away for about 20 minutes, and it's really just perfect. Everything is just fork tender. I could just, use this fork and really soften everything. Now is the fun part. At this point, I usually just turn the heat off, and I get my immersion blender. What this is going to do, it's just a little, if you can see, it's just got a little blade there. What that's going to do is pull the soup in and then smooth it out. So let me show you how this works. As you can see, it's really starting to get smooth. Sometimes this takes, 5 or 6 minutes to get it the way you want. But what I did is, while it was cooking, I ended up adding the rest of the chicken broth. So you have a whole container or 4 cups of chicken broth. Now, to make this a little bit richer, I'm going to add a half a cup of milk. You could use half and half or, full heavy cream, but I like to just use a little bit of milk. And, of course, if you don't have an immersion blender like I do, you could always use a regular blender, just a regular blender. Okay, I'm going to finish this up, and then I'll meet you back at the island where you'll see the finished results. But that's it, and we'll have our cauliflower soup in a minute. Okay, well, the work's all done, and it's time to taste our cauliflower soup. It looks and smells great, so here we go. This came out really good. It's really creamy. You taste the cauliflower, and the caraway seeds give it a really good fragrance. So you got to try this at home.